Coming up on Now See This. A drunk driver tries to stay in line.
Look at him, he has lost total control.
Only to get a case of the spins. Fun-loving fishermen throw out a line.
Here we go, guys.
And reel in the catch of the day.
Hey, can you hear me?
There's a guy in the water.
And a cop steps over the line when he thinks he's above the law. Whether it's running hot or cold as ice, you can feel the rush of heavy-duty drama. Think you've seen it all? Now see this. High above the earth, 16 fearless women leap from an airplane as they attempt to break the record for women's canopy stacking. It's an unusual and perilous stunt. One by one,
Looks good.
the women swoop down beneath each other, where the skydiver above locks her feet in the canopy straps of the diver below.
Yahoo!
Slowly and meticulously, the women try to build a column 16 canopies high. Just a few more to go.
We can do it!
And finally, the record is theirs. The women are overjoyed as their 10-story tall canopy stack sails majestically through the air. But the celebration is short-lived. The number 6 canopy suddenly collapses, causing a chain reaction all the way down the stack. Most of the women break away safely, but skydiver Becky Livingstone and another woman become entwined in a deadly spiral. As they spin ever closer to impact, cool-headed Becky realizes she has only one option for survival: to cut herself loose from her entangled canopy. The other woman's liberated parachute stabilizes quickly. She floats down safely, with Becky's deflated canopy still hung up in her cords. But what about Becky? Less than 1,000 feet above the hard earth, Becky's reserve parachute inflates, and she rides down the cushion of air as if nothing had ever happened. But in fact, it was a brush with death Becky will never forget, especially after it began on such a high note.
Boy, as soon as the last person docked, you could have heard the screaming of all these women for 3 or 4 counties.
It's a moment of perfect harmony and togetherness. But the harmony ends, and togetherness is the last thing 2 parachutes need.
Since they were both trying to fly, the result was a pinwheel effect. It was a pretty radical spin. We were getting a lot of centrifugal force, we were getting pulled apart but held together at the same time.
Becky knew the situation was desperate.
It was not something that was going to be salvageable. That was really obvious to me at the time.
It was also obvious that someone had to cut away, quick. But by doing so, Becky really put herself more at risk.
That's an intense rate of descent, and it's not anything that you want to stay with at all.
Becky counted on her reserve, a skydiver's last resort, and thankfully, it didn't fail her. They fell like Siamese twin sisters joined at their parachutes. But thanks to her sharp intuition, Becky Livingstone knew just when to sever the sisterly bond and give the term women's liberation a whole new meaning. Ed Brochin is an outdoor enthusiast with his own local access show in Indianapolis, Indiana. He and his buddies love getting out in the sun for some hunting and trapping. But they're tough guys, so when a storm interrupts the taping of a fishing segment, they refuse to let it dampen their spirits.
Because we're out here in a torrential downpour, and Doug here hooks him another big fish, so we fought real hard to get the camera out in time to try to capture this on tape, guys. Please bear with us. We're in it's a big fish. Just hang on to him. I'm gonna land him for you.
Ed is quite impressed with his buddy Doug Strott's 22-pound catch and figures the show is complete.
Here we go, guys. Another nice high in the teens flathead catfish.
We were just about ready to wrap up the show. I shook my client's hand, and I said, "Okay, guys, it's a wrap. Let's call it a day."
But their day is far from over. As they start to pack up, cameraman Jeff Howard spots something that will change their lives. forever.
I just had put the camera down, was getting ready to pull up the anchor, and noticed a man in the river floating down the center of the river, and I could hear him moaning. I said to both of them, there's a guy in the water.
A man is floating on his back, his arms reaching out of the water grotesquely.
We got you! Hey! Hey, can you hear me?
Help him!
Fucking wind him in, guys!
Jeff quickly shuts off his camera, realizing this will take all of their hands to help.
Turned the camera off and went into rescue mode. Doug had jumped off the back of the boat, and I pulled up the lines and the anchor, and Eddie flipped the boat around.
As luck would have it, Doug Stroud is a trained lifeguard who knows exactly what to do.
I was able to grab him by his coat, hold his head above the water, and try and fight the current to try and stay close to the boat.
Between the three of them, they muster the strength to pull the freezing victim aboard their boat, call 911, and race to shore.
You gonna be all right, Gary?
Jeff, you gonna be all right?
Hey, I think he's gonna be all right. He's having a hard time breathing.
Yeah.
The man's breathing becomes more regular. To Ed, it's a miracle.
There was, I think, some type of divine intervention in all this because just too many things happened just perfectly in order for this man to live.
It turns out the man jumped into the 45-degree waters hoping to kill himself. He never counted on a trio of catfish-catching heroes.
Hey, Doug. I can't believe it, man.
Doug is cold and sopping wet, but his mind is still on the victim, especially when the suicidal man's daughter arrives on the scene.
We hugged and she cried for a while and thanked me for saving her father. It's a small world.
Most fishing trips are judged by what you catch, and by those standards, these men had a truly great day. They reeled the life back in from the brink.
We got you! Hey! Hey, can you hear me?
In Mexico City, Mexico, reporter Jose Ramon Frias is covering a tense hostage standoff that will test his journalistic integrity. Trying to avoid police capture, two brothers are holed up inside an apartment with a mother and her small children. The reporter strikes up a dialogue, hoping to find a few good sound bites for his broadcast. What he gets is beyond his wildest expectations.
We questioned them and asked them to tell us what happened. They ask us if we want to come inside.
Jose doesn't hesitate. An exclusive story like this is every journalist's dream.
Pues en estos momentos vamos a ingresar al domicilio donde Moisés y Alejandro.
Once inside, brothers Moises and Alejandro don't hold back.
It seems the brothers had been drinking and using drugs in the apartment complex. They had some problems with the security guard and they got into a fight. The cops went after them and they enclosed themselves in the apartment where, unfortunately, the woman was there with her kids.
Jose listens intently, but his concern soon shifts to the hostage's well-being.
Señora, ¿pero está usted bien? ¿Segura los niños cómo están? ¿Segura están bien?
I think my cameraman and I thought we could be mediators so that the kids could be fine.
The woman claims she is not harmed, and for the moment, everything appears almost peaceful. But all that is about to change.
Déjalo entrar, Alejandro, déjalo entrar, Alejandro. Alejandro, déjalo entrar, es mejor que lo dejes entrar.
Officers are sick of waiting and try to raid the house, but Alejandro and Moises barricade the door. In this moment, Jose realizes that the brothers won't give up on their own, and if police are going to get in, they'll need his help. Thinking fast, he tries to draw Alejandro's attention elsewhere. For a second, it seems to work, but Alejandro is too paranoid to be fooled. With tensions reaching a boiling point, Jose fears police may hammer their way in using deadly force. The newsman quickly tries to defuse the situation.
I asked the commander to wait because they were unarmed. So when I stick my head out the window, I saw the apartment across the way and infrared lights from the sharpshooters.
Realizing that things are rapidly spiraling out of his control, Jose grabs his cameraman and runs for cover. But this reporter doesn't have the luxury of being a bystander for long. Immediately after he turns away, the situation becomes explosive. The brothers threaten to drop a volatile 30-liter propane tank 5 stories to the ground, causing a massive explosion. Jose knows he has to intervene in order to save lives.
I feared for the people downstairs.
Moises isn't listening, but as soon as he turns his back, Jose makes his move. When he sees the door ajar, Moises tries to defend himself using the tank.
If the police had shot, it might have exploded. We might not have been here today.
Police storm in with guns drawn. An officer knocks the container out of his hands, and the brothers are swarmed. They're swiftly carted off to jail. Meanwhile, police go to check on the hostages and learn that the captives are Alejandro's own wife and kids. Because the men are their own family, they decide not to press charges. It's the final twist that makes a truly great story. But it's enough to test Jose's professionalism.
Then, when we finished working, we smoke a cigarette and you say, "Man, was this worth it?"
It doesn't take long for Jose to get his answer.
The next day, the executive producer from the night newscast calls and says, "You have your 5 minutes of fame." Do you know when we've given a story 5 minutes? Never. 3 months later, the call to say that I've won the National Prize for Journalism. Then you say, it was worth it.
This animal is swimming for its life. Moments ago, the beloved pet fell through the ice-covered pond behind its owner's Reno, Nevada home.
I looked in towards the lake and I saw this little head bobbing back and forth and realized it wasn't a duck.
Donna Higo knows she can't save her cherished dog on her own and quickly calls for assistance.
I was on the phone screaming that I needed help for my dog.
But help will not come quickly. Because Donna's home borders 2 counties, there's a mix-up as to which jurisdiction is responsible for the rescue.
No one was showing up, and Cinnabar was getting tired.
When help finally does arrive, there's not a second to spare. Higo's pet is frozen to the bone and fading fast.
What's the dog's name? Cinnabar. Time was a factor because from what we understood from our dispatch, the dog had been in the water approximately 2 hours. The dog was getting kind of lethargic and was definitely shivering a lot.
While rescuers prepare to go in, Donna stands on the bank making dead sure her other dog doesn't end up like Cinnabar. Insulated by a thermal suit, fireman Chris Taylor slowly starts to shimmy over the ice.
Doing good, Chris.
But if the pond's frozen crust couldn't hold a 30-pound dog, how can it hold a full-grown man? Taylor breaks through the surface and into the freezing water. With no time to waste, he begins smashing a path to the dog. But as Taylor gets closer, a nervous Cinnabar backs away.
She started to growl at me, but I kind of swam around behind her so that I could grab her and talk to her and pet her a little bit.
Whatever he says works, because Cinnabar warms up to Chris and swims into his arms.
Come on, sweetheart.
With a firm grip on the dog's legs, the fireman guides her through the icy channel.
I felt that the dog knew I was trying to help it, especially after I was able to pet the dog a little bit and talk to it. I think she knew that I was there to help.
After a few moments of uncertainty, rescuers grab hold of the canine's collar and pull her to shore. Seeing her best friend finally out of serious danger, Donna Higo is overwhelmed by what she's been keeping in since the incident began.
Thank you. I couldn't control myself anymore.
If some of you guys could carry her, I would be really happy.
That hour was horrible. I can't begin to describe to you what it's like.
Thank you, thank you, thank you. Oh, mwah. I'm gonna hug you. I don't care if you're letting me on the stick.
Cinnabar is rushed to the nearest animal hospital.
We're just going to take Cinnabar to the vet.
She's treated for hypothermia and placed under careful watch. The next few hours will be critical. But before long, Cinnabar and Donna are back to their old selves.
Cinnabar is just a happy camper.
Fireman Chris Taylor remembers the rescue proudly.
Satisfying call is a fairy tale ending. The dog, once it got up onto the ice, ran right to the shore, to the owner, and at that point I kind of lost track of where the dog went.
But Donna and Cinnabar didn't lose track of Chris, and today they are united for the first time since the incident.
This is the man that rescued you.
Donna is finally able to express her gratitude in person, but to say she's merely grateful would be a mammoth understatement.
Oh, what I think of Chris is he will have my love and my support for as long as I live.
Carroll County, Georgia. It's the end of a long day as a drugged-out driver goes on the run from laid-back Deputy Lee Maxwell. It may not be a very fast pursuit, but that's fine with Deputy Maxwell. He'll just keep an eye on the suspect until either the man comes to his senses or backup arrives.
49, y'all coming this way?
But when the stoned suspect rumbles onto the freeway, the danger level increases with his accelerating speed.
Speed's about 60 to 70, dispatch.
The driver's impaired reflexes could spell disaster for anyone in his path. Maxwell needs that backup, fast, and he gets it. The second unit bolts in front of the suspect to slow his flight. But the driver shows the officer just how unruly he's willing to be. As the panicked suspect charges ahead, a third unit arrives. Deputy Maxwell has a front row seat as the other officers try to box the truck in. The units use the guardrail to pin the suspect, but the man lashes out like a cornered animal. With a cocktail of drugs and adrenaline pumping through his veins, the driver is more dangerous now than ever. That's why the officers decide the chase has gone on long enough. The unit revs ahead and rams the suspect, sending him skidding across the road, apparently down for the count.
1050, dispatch, 1050.
But not so fast. As soon as Deputy Maxwell leaps out to help apprehend the suspect, the driver restarts the truck and keeps running off camera. Maxwell jumps back in his cruiser to resume the pursuit. Meanwhile, the suspect is careening off-road between the tree line and the guardrail.
When he started back down, he tried to cross the guardrail, and if he'd have got across it, it would have caused a major wreck.
By the time Maxwell catches up, the chase is over. The suspect has hit a tree. Now he faces a host of charges, ranging from drug possession to felony evading.
He was still going, trying to get the truck to go back into reverse, to drive, trying to still get away from us, so we had to physically pull him from the driver's seat.
At last, Deputy Maxwell got to join in the real action. But the easygoing officer seems just as content watching a chase as he is being a part of it.
I'd probably, on a scale of 1 to 10, it's about an 8. The pit was very enjoyable. I like watching pits, especially from that close up, and it was a great chase. 1050, dispatch, 1050.
Security guards outside the Motor City Casino in Detroit, Michigan, are telling an unruly patron to leave. But the consummate gambler doesn't want to fold, even with 7-to-1 odds against him. Finally, the man backs away slowly, but not without spouting off a few choice words. The high-stakes commotion attracts the attention of 2 officers patrolling the area. The officers calmly escort the disorderly man down the road as he continues to fume. But when the casino cast-out turns his insults on the cops, this officer decides game time is over. The camera catches everything as the officer loses control. He viciously jabs the man in the stomach with his flashlight. Even while under assault, the man doesn't fight back. Still, the officer orders his rookie partner to pepper spray his face. He slams the man against the wall, then tosses him to the ground. The rookie tries to calm her superior, but this angry cop isn't listening. Because of his actions, the senior officer is brought up on assault charges. He's later acquitted. But if there's one thing this officer of the law should know, it's that no one is exempt from justice. He's been suspended without salary for almost a year now, and with a civil suit still pending, he may end up paying this man 10 times what he lost at the casino. If you think the man in this car is driving like this because he's drunk, you're only half right.
They tried to pull him over for a traffic infringement. He did not pull over.
When the inebriated suspect refused to yield for police after a routine traffic stop, they laid out spike strips and shredded his tires. Now he's riding on rims, and not very well.
Look at him, he has lost total control.
Officers aren't sure where the man thinks he's headed, but if the shortest distance to any point is a straight line, it's obvious he's taking the long way. But just to fully ensure he never gets there, police speed ahead of the man to lay down another set of spikes.
They're coming up with the spike strip off the other side of the car right now.
The driver is so smashed, he doesn't even attempt to avoid them.
You can see the rim of the car has just come off the tire.
Now all 4 of the suspect's tires are flat. His car is fishtailing all over the road. But just when it looks like he can't hold out any longer, he does.
How he's keeping control of this vehicle, we don't know.
For now, officers block off traffic, follow at a safe distance, and wait. And wait. And then wait some more.
Good thing that there are no other cars out there.
The suspect seems determined to keep running, even if it means running his car into the ground.
You can see the driver there having a tough time with the wheel there.
But nothing lasts forever, and with a final burst of drunken resolve, the man guns the engine.
I mean, look at this guy. Now he's losing control all the way there. Let's see if he comes to a stop here.
The last bit of torque throws the car into a spin that the suspect can't recover from. Within seconds, police have him surrounded.
Suspect's got a foot out of the door now.
Officers cuff the intoxicated man. Now he's finally going straight to jail. In Turkey, a crowd is gathered at the scene of a dramatic rescue. But this isn't exactly a little boy stuck in a well. A cow has fallen into a 6-foot deep drainage canal, and pulling her to safety will be a delicate operation. Why all the effort for such a scrawny-looking bovine? Because this is a dairy cow, and she's the sole source of income for a widow and her 5 children. It's a life that's definitely worth saving, but the cow is in a precarious position. Rescuers don't know what kind of injuries she may have already sustained in the fall, and she's now standing in water that pours into a river just a few feet away. One false step, and the cow will be swept under. One man climbs into the narrow canal, and with the help of firefighters, he secures a tarp under the animal's stomach. There's no room for heavy equipment to come in and help lift. It'll all have to be done by manpower. As the river sweeps along nearby, rescuers prepare to lift the cow to safety. It takes all their combined strength. Suddenly, the cow tips backwards. It's more than the tarp can take. The cow collapses to a sitting position. That extra impact too hard on her thin legs. She's fading fast, and the water is rising. There's no time for delicacy. Rescuers put heavy-duty straps under the cow's belly. The cords are strong enough to do the job, but as they dig in across her soft underside, they could damage her internal organs. It's a chance they'll have to take. With the straps in place, the signal is given. Again, the cow tips backwards. But there's no hesitation from rescuers. Even as the strap grinds into her udder, they drag the cow onto the grass before she can fall free again. The cords are quickly removed, and the cow is helped to her feet. Rescuers are eager to assess her injuries. Remarkably, she appears okay, and even needs to be restrained to keep from trotting off on her own. A friend of the widow's family takes the cow's reins and leads it back to them. And now, thanks to the efforts of their neighbors, a mother and her 5 girls will get to keep putting bread and milk on the table.